because for some reason
Oh,
it was paused. So that's okay. We've got it going now. We're a good team. So here in St. Louis, our goals for our community leader work in this region is we have a convening once a month. You are here today, and we invite speakers that can come in and share relevant information to our network of stakeholders about the work that they are doing. We have a Facebook page that we hope you are following. Please feel free to drop in and check on that page. We share some information and resources there as it comes our way, and we would love for our community leaders to, our stakeholders to do the same as well, if you have things that you would like this group to know about. If you have some buddies or other folks that you work closely with that you think could benefit from being here in this space, please invite them. We have new community leaders who join us every month, and that's what we're here to do, is to expand that network. We got more folks hopping on even as we speak. And again, this is an opportunity for us to stay connected across the region with what's happening in early childhood. All
busy
right.
time,
Yes.
busy time. So this is my favorite part of our monthly meetings is learning about you and all the work you're doing. Why do we do this? We do this because we want to start aligning all of our work to ensure that our most vulnerable populations have the services that they need and the resources that they need here in the St. Louis region. So it's kind of creating this web of support systems for children and families. So come off mute. We're not one of those, oh, put your name and organization in the chat. If you really want to, you can, but I'd love to hear your voice. And we'll put this, here, I'm gonna
It's in it's
stop sharing so we can all see each other. Um,
And our
and if you
prompt is
want,
in the chat.
what?
Our prompt is in the chat.
Thank you. Thank you,
Yeah.
Leanne. I will say that I'm Lisa Greening and I'm with Turn the Page STL. Uh, and oh, hi, Mackenzie. And one of my big things was that we did an analysis of high impact tutoring, literacy tutoring for K through third graders here in the St. Louis region. If anybody wants that report, just holler. But what it really showed is that about 16,000 kids in our Promise Zone school districts need high impact tutoring to get them back on track, and yet fewer than 1,600 have it. So now that we know that landscape will be creating a bigger supply. So that's my exciting news of this year. Marcia.
Hi, I'm Marcia Carradine, and I'm a parent educator with Riverview Garden School District. And my biggest accomplishment, as well as my coworkers, was we got a lot of our children on our caseload and at the Early Education Center screened by SSD. And with that happening, a lot of them are receiving services, which is great. Our parents are more receptive to the process, and we have learned how to navigate the process a lot better. It's still a learning experience, but it's a lot better. And that's very important. I know everybody here agrees that children get the help they need as early as possible, which is what we're seeing now, which is great.
That's fantastic. Marcia, you're gonna have to speak about that one of these months about, you
Sure.
know, the success you've had and then the stumbling blocks that you've met, because I know you've had those.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I would love to. I would love to. I'm going to call on Mackenzie.
Except I think she's in another meeting.
Well,
What'd she
Rochelle.
say?
Good
Rochelle,
afternoon, everyone. It's Rochelle B. with Beginning Futures Learning Center. So first, we are early child care center in North St. Louis in Walnut Park. And we currently offer Head Start services and are a partner with Live for Life Academy and Confluence Academy to offer free pre-K services. But we have expanded our services by doing the peer framework approach, where we support other programs, other ECE programs throughout the city of St. Louis, mainly North Side. We have a few South St. Louis. We are funded through the Mental Health Board, the Opportunity Trust, the City of St. Louis, and most recently, Youth Bridge. We have been fortunate enough to have great funders ourselves, but there are a lot of programs that do not get this support. So we're able to support these programs in any capacity that they need the help. And that is I'm excited about the pre-K services, but most importantly, with being able to uplift other programs that may not have the resources or the capacity to do this work or find funders or apply for funding or to just keep the doors open. I am excited to say that I have not had a change in staff this year, this academic year, and we are fully enrolled. That's another hardship that other programs are facing. They have very, very low numbers that are causing them not to truly have a team. So
What's the name, Rochelle, of the group that you've organized that applied for this money and is providing the support?
it's Beginning Futures, and we call it the peer framework approach. So
Peer framework.
mhm,
That's
I
great.
pretty much gathered this concept after working with We Power. And after I worked with so many professionals, I learned that us in the ECE world, we're proficient at crayons and markers, but it's a lot that we do not get to experience. And by me having these partnerships, there are just business etiquettes that I am exposed to that other programs are not. And so, hey, let's share these programs with others. And so it's something that we generated in-house to seek funding to support other programs. So internally, so our senior staff go out and support other programs. So
Amazing.
if you need help just with effective classroom management, it's someone for that. If you need help getting audited for the federal food program, we do that. So there's no limit to what we are able to do. The beauty also of the mental health board is that we are able to send a mental health therapist out to programs. So we are performing those assessments and teaching those educators how to do the assessments, but we have a therapist that is able to support. And I'm so excited about this work. And one of my funders is on here, Dr. Samantha March. So I'll pass it to her so that she can do an introduction now.
Real quick, Rochelle, I have two things to say real quick.
Mhm.
One, how many centers are you serving now with
Okay.
your framework?
Through the mental health board, there's 12. Through the Opportunity Trust, a few of them out are new, which are 5, some or still programs under the mental health board, but 5 in addition to the existing ones. With the city of St. Louis, that grant allows us to support 35 individuals with obtaining a CDA. And then that grant we wrote in for employee retention. So over the course of a year, it gives the employee back $8,500 to kind of stay, at that program, since we were having an issue with retaining staff at other programs. And most recently, the Youth Bridge grant allows us to support 5 to 7 programs in St. Louis County.
Fantastic. And that is why Rochelle B was the 2024 early champion of the year for the St. Louis region.
Thank
One of my happiest moments
Thank
when
you.
I was on stage with you. All right, Samantha,
I
if
got
you're
one
there,
quick
you
question.
involved.
I got
Uh-huh.
one quick question. Rochelle, do you guys provide before and after care for students? Do you provide transportation? Like, okay, so you don't have a van where like if the parents want to drop off and then you take them to school.
No.
You do-
And let me tell you the rule of that. Okay. We used to until we learned in St. Louis City, which is different from St. Louis County, school buses come to us. So we don't have to deliver to a school district. In St.
Mhm.
Louis City, any school will deliver to us. And because of the DSEG program, they'll deliver to us. So we don't have a need to go to Riverview or other school districts. We feel like you should choose your home school for that, or a home childcare facility in that area for that.
Do you have any location? I feel like I've heard this name, Beginning Futures. Is there one in North County?
No, we are in St. Louis City, Walnut Park, Lillian and Thrush, and you've probably heard the name because all of the wonderful things that we're doing throughout the community.
Sure it is. I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is. Very impressive.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay,
Or
Dr.
should we? Okay, Dr. March, or you want to come off mute or?
And you know what? Let me pass it to someone else because she had some dental work done yesterday.
Oh.
How about Dana? Dana, are you available? And if not, Dana, Denise Carter has jumped on too. She's from the Mental Health Board. So
Yes, I'm sorry.
that's one of
Couldn't
our
find my unmute button. I'm sorry. I'm Dana Walker. I'm the Director of Children's Services for Bell's Children's Services of the St. Louis Arc. Our big accomplishment for this year is that, fingers crossed, but we have submitted a grant to expand our embedded early learning program into the city. So hopefully come July, I will be able to pick up at least 10 early childhood centers in the city for our embedded early learning program. So we're really excited about that.
That is fantastic. Wow. All right. Can't wait to see this rolling out. Who else would like, Joanne?
Yeah, hi, I'm Joanne Suda. And a change for me this year is I moved from the University City Board of Education to the Special School District Board of Education. And that there's obviously a much bigger footprint in the early childhood world. And I'm advocating for equity across the region. That's something that we're really focusing on in all of our areas, including early childhood education. And then I'm also chairing the Coalition for the Formation of the Early Education District of St. Louis County. We're trying to establish universal pre-kindergarten throughout the county. And Tracy McCreary has sponsored and filed a bill for us, Senate Bill 233. So that's what I've been doing, what I've been up
Great.
to. Thanks.
Just a few things.
Just a little bit this and that.
Joanne, you want to call on somebody else?
Absolutely. Let's see. Let me call on Apurva. Did I say your name correctly?
Absolutely, Joanne. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, I'm Apurva Sundar. I am from the Office of Childhood. At DESE, I realized I do need to change my name on the screen. I was on a different meeting earlier this week, but I think our department's big early childhood accomplishment that I would like to elevate, I think, is Dolly Parton's Imagination Library of Missouri. November 8th, we turned 1 year old. So we're at 13 months now. And our enrollment has been so good that we have already mailed out over 1 million books to children across the state of Missouri over the course of this 1 year. And our early enrollment was so good that we got to invite Dolly Parton herself to the state back in August. And some of us got to meet her. So that's always a highlight. I think that would trump pretty much anything in my life at this point. So yeah, that was cool.
So she went to Kansas City.
She did go to Kansas
She
City.
did.
Sorry.
Next time, St. Louis.
I hope
ahead.
there's a next time. That would be really cool.
That'd be-
But I will turn it over to Stacy.
Hi, I'm Stacy Sarton. I'm with United for Children. We have the Early Care and Education Resource and Referral Contract where we support the statewide call center, the child care database, and our wonderful community leaders. And just, I wanted to lift up everybody, all our community leaders across the state and the great work that they're doing. They just all turned in their quarterly reports and I'm just blown away by the connections, the relationships they're building, bringing you guys together to discuss the issues that really impact your region. So yeah, I'm gonna, Did you have something to say, Lisa? I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying thank you.
You're welcome. And I'm gonna pass it to Sarah.
Hi, I'm Sarah Kennedy. I'm with MU Extension. I'm not going to tell an accomplishment because you will get it in the presentation. So, I will pass it to, I don't think Julie's gone yet.
Hey everyone, my name is Julie Turner and I am the new CEO for United Services for Children in St. Charles County. Accomplishment wise, I've been here since November 1st. So it's been an amazing opportunity. And I don't know if you're familiar with what we do. We provide early intervention and pediatric outpatient programs for kiddos 0 to 3 with developmental delays and disabilities. So it's great to be here with you. Yeah.
Welcome. Welcome,
you.
welcome. I think we have a few more people. Laura Pollock, I know something you could talk about.
Hi, Lisa. Sorry I logged in late. I had the wrong login for this meeting. Yeah, let's see. So for St. Louis County Library, we are implementing a new program in 2025 called Gateway to Reading, where we are focusing on explicit reading instruction for young children. So this is more for like our kindergarten through 3rd grade age, but it's really to support schools as they are implementing things like letters curriculum, or excuse me, letters training and curriculum to go along with that, so that we at the library can be in line with what children and families are experiencing in their school districts. So we'll talk about that more in the future, but that's a big thing that we are excited for coming up in just a few weeks.
I am too. I think we have Denise and Michelle left. Denise?
Good evening, everybody. So I'm Denise Carter with St. Louis Mental Health Board. I'm sorry I was late. It was pickup time for, these teenagers who don't drive. Biggest accomplishment, or some of the accomplishment at the Mental Health Board, I'm the Children's Services Project Director. So I would say I get to partner and work with a lot of you on the call. So if I don't know you, please reach out so we can figure out how we can partner for children in the city and in the county. I think one of the accomplishments for me is we got some new out of school time providers who serving in these were first time providers who grassroots or small organizations who are doing well, and they're serving in neighborhoods that need to be serviced. We also got our new data management system. MHB had the last system where I used to be a childcare provider prior to this. This was the same system for about 15 years. So we got a new system that we rolled out last week, actually on Monday. So we'll see how that works. But and we doubled in staff at the Mental Health Board this year.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you for your support of Rochelle.
Mm-hmm.
And her
Yes,
great
thank you, Rochelle,
work.
for shouting me out. Rochelle and I
She's
came a long way.
yes.
We've known each other for 20-some years, so we came a long way.
I believe it. And Michelle, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hello, everyone. I'm Michelle McElfresh. I'm the Director of Contracts and Compliance with the Community and Children's Resource Board. We're a funding agency for children's mental health and substance use services in St. Charles County. And this is my first meeting with you all, so thank you for inviting me and happy to be here with you today. So we are a funding agency, so our big accomplishment, or what our partners do, we fund about 10 agencies who provide services for early childhood. And so our applause goes to our frontline workers and for all the great services and outcomes they provide to our community in 24, which I don't have the numbers because of course that comes in February, but we deeply appreciate them.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and share what we looked at our last meeting, especially for those who are new to the community leader work. And I'm going to give a big shout out for the Missouri Early Learning Landscape. I think most of you were here for the presentation on how to use it, but it really helps find out it is a system that you can easily get demographic data from, health, provider information, community assets and boundaries based on specific zip codes. I wanted to just, we kind of came up to a time problem at the last meeting, and I wanted to know if anybody here sees how they would like to use this early learning landscape. How could this be used in your work? As
I think the information on family economics would benefit the area that I'm in the most.
I'm not totally great. You know, many of you, obviously Rochelle is the queen of getting grants, but for many of you, I see this as something for me and for the whole community when people are saying, you know, well, how many single parent families, you know, that's what we want to support, or we want to support, you know, families are unemployed. I'm just looking at this. Then you can just click on here and you can tell exactly the number and the percentage. I think you can do both. You can generate a report to tell that potential funder. And if you have any problems with this, I will find the right person to help you get that data. Anything else? It is, and I'll put that in the chat, the link to that. It is with great pleasure, am I at the right part here? To introduce one of my favorite new people, Sarah Kennedy. Sarah and I have known each other probably for about a year now, maybe longer, and have really enjoyed learning a great deal from her and her research. Oh, thanks, Leah. With her and her research, specifically one thing that, and I'll put this also in the chat, Sarah, after your presentation, if you want, a research that Sarah did about solving Missouri's child care puzzle and about the need for central office support. I highly recommend this research. But Sarah, do you want to go ahead and share your screen and tell everybody who you are and the research that you're doing?
Yes. So let me start the slideshow. No. I need to share screen too. Hold on. Do you guys see
Common
slideshow?
There it is.
Cool. Okay. Okay, so I am Sarah Kennedy and I am with MU Extension. So the way I think about my position is I am a community development field specialist. What that means at Extension is I sit in the business and community space. One thing about Extension is we have an office in every county throughout the entire state of Missouri. So we are able to bring the University of Missouri to you. So we are able to bring the programs, the resources, and whatnot to the different counties throughout the state. And so with my position, Extension looked at every county throughout the state and realized housing and childcare were the two issues. And it didn't matter, urban, rural, two issues, every county. So they said, okay, we need a childcare person. We need someone to connect the dots at Extension and figure out what programs and resources we already have We need someone to connect the dots across all 4 campuses of the University of Missouri and figure out what programs and resources already exist. And then find ways to get all of those programs and resources out into the community. So out into the various counties throughout Missouri. So in 2024, I'm going to go over a few new resources that I've worked on. So one thing I worked on, I was on the Mosaica project. My other project that I had going was the shared services report. So I partnered with New Growth Women's Business Center to research shared services. So we dug deep into what shared services are, what the different levels are, and really wanted to think about this as a potential solution that could be used to improve childcare in Missouri, but especially thinking about the rural communities. And so there are bits and pieces of shared services that exist across Missouri. But this was thinking about it on like a bigger scale. So what we know is that the average cost of childcare in Missouri is around $19,000 per child per year. And with that cost, it is higher than a college tuition. It is higher than typically what you'd pay for housing in a year. And so families cannot afford childcare. Then we also looked at it from the perspective of childcare providers. So childcare providers have increased cost. Inflation has increased. They might have a facility repair, and their revenue streams have stayed pretty stagnant or even decreased. And so all of this has resulted in childcare closing, and we already didn't have enough supply. And so then the third way to look at this is from the business perspective. And so businesses are unable to retain employees and find employees. And so each year, the Missouri Chamber of Commerce has put out that we lose $1.35 billion in economic opportunity in the state of Missouri due to childcare, as well as $280 million in loss of tax revenue. And so from these 3 perspectives, childcare needs improvement. And so one thing to think about with childcare, I'm going to go quickly through this because you all know this. There are kind of 2 things that need to be taken into account that make it a very unique business. So you are thinking about the education needs, you are thinking about the developmental needs, the health and safety of kids, all of that's important. And then there's also the business side. And so childcare business owners have to think about both sides of this. And so with all that, what would something like shared services kind of look like? And so is there a way to streamline some of this? Is there a way to look for opportunities to like buy diapers together? Just thinking about how are there different ways to do things. And I feel like Rochelle's introduction of what she's doing was a very nice segue into this. So tiered 1 is kind of the most simplest, and this is looking at ways to share and buy everyday supplies. So there are things that all childcare providers need. How can we purchase that in bulk? There are trainings all childcare providers need. How can we ensure that they're getting that? Peer-to-peer networking, purchasing and discounts, and then access to health insurance. So thinking about how can we pool together different employees so childcare can actually offer health insurance to their employees. Tier 2 really has to do with the automation of some things and making things a little bit more efficient. So it would be going from paper and pen of some things to using software. And so there are various software things that can help with payroll, that can help with collecting tuition, that can help with just various things. And so kind of thinking about that and how that can help save time as well. And then the third tier is the hardest to really get to because it requires the most trust. And so it takes the most time to get here. But it is thinking about, are there ways that you can have shared staff? So you might want to put someone in charge of tuition collection across like 5 different places, or put someone in charge of dealing with subsidy or the ordering or whatever across multiple centers. And so that frees up that director from doing that hat when they have a million other hats. And so how do we just think about this a little differently? So in this report, as well as the webinar series, we looked at shared service alliances that exist in other communities. We also looked at some of the bits and pieces of shared services that exist in Missouri already to help us kind of think about how we can leverage what we already have and kind of build off of that. And so we had 3 webinars. All the recordings are available. I can leave links and stuff in the chat at the end of this, but we had our first webinar was on the business of childcare. Our second one was on central office support shared services. And so that really featured other communities. We had a bunch of people from across the country talking, and then Missouri's assets and opportunities. The other really cool thing that I did in 2024 is getting this launched. So one thing I did was I ran around the state doing the Mozeka Academies. And so I really learned what resources exist, what's going on, what's offered in different counties. And one thing I was tasked at Extension is like, how can I make sure that the specialists throughout the state know how to connect people to the right resources? So I've created a database. This is for field specialists at MU Extension, but also it's available publicly. So if other people want to use it, that's fine. But it allows them to look by county and answer some of the quick questions that I get often. How to start a new childcare facility. And so you can use the different categories at the top. And one of the options is start a new childcare facility, and then like 6 different resources pop up. And so that has been created, it's been launched, and I'm excited that it's seemingly user-friendly. Like I hope it's user-friendly. So if something doesn't work, please just tell me and I can fix it really easily. But that brings me to 2025. So the things I have going on in 2025 is a lot of stuff. And so at a lot of different levels. So this is not all just like St. Louis specific. So I received a fellowship from the North Central Regional Center for Rural Development. Okay. Think about it as Missouri is the bottom, and then it's all the states that go up to through the middle of the country. So that is the region that we're talking about. So they did a caregiving survey in which they talked to a bunch of parents across all of these states to understand caregiving. And so one thing they asked me to do was figure out how to transform that data into action. And so that kind of has led me to this project. So I will be creating a Missouri snapshot of this data set, as well as hosting a webinar series and then doing some peer-to-peer learning. So if anyone's interested in doing some peer learning with people from Missouri, north, middle of the state, middle of the country, this would be an opportunity to do that. So the webinar series will really go through the community change process. So we'll start with early childcare supports thriving communities. Then understanding your community's early childhood story, creating a community early childcare report card, introduction to collective impact, introduction to strategic doing, introduction to collective impact evaluation, results-based accountability, ripple effects mapping, and policy analysis. So these are all very like community change focused, but it will also have the early childcare component. Another project that I'm on is the Mo Excel project. What I can tell you about the black boxes is that the other part of my team is doing something with building a pipeline of early childcare providers. And so they're going to work with middle and high school counselors to start talking to students about early childcare as a profession and what it means. And so through that program, they then are going to offer a online CDA course for high schoolers. To earn their CDA, they get joint high school and college credit. And then I don't know from there. So like I said, that's the other part of my team. My part on this project is to work with the business and communities component. So through that, I will be developing an economic development series. And so the first webinar there will be early childcare supports thriving businesses. I'll also be developing content around the state of early childcare in Missouri, understanding policies that support families. So that's going to be a lunch and learn in partnership with the St. Louis Anchor Action Network. And so what that network is some of the top employers in St. Louis. And I'll have the opportunity to really help them understand the policies that support families of their that they're employing. And then the last one is financing childcare. SBDC is also a part of this, and they are also part of Extension. So SBDC is a Small Business Development Center. They'll be offering some courses throughout the state. So they can do courses on business planning, childcare financials, how to start a new childcare business, employer opportunities to start childcare. And then we threw tax credits for childcare in there, knowing that that was all pre-filed and everything else. So we'll kind of just see how that rolls out. I am able to offer what's called strategic doing to 2 communities throughout the state. Strategic doing really works well for communities that kind of have an idea and they have partners in place and they just don't know where to start. And so strategic doing is a process that really kicks you into gear and gets a project going. We also are able to offer an economic impact analysis to a community as well. And then this isn't as relevant to St. Louis, but there's another opportunity around agriculture and childcare. So that will be happening. I will be networking with the Missouri Economic Development Council and the Missouri Chamber of Commerce, and really helping that community understand childcare and what they can actually do about it. As of now, there are Mozeka Academies planned. These are probably all tentative dates, but a St. Louis one will be August 14th to 15th. I am trying to figure out what exactly my role is in that, but it'll probably be doing some of these trainings that already exist. And then we'll also be piloting a community change series in St. Louis. And so This is in partnership with Lakeisha at the city and Dee at United for Children. But we will do some mini trainings once a month to kind of start with that community change process that I've talked about in other trainings. So the first one in January is going to be an introduction to early childcare data. And so it is understanding that everyone is a data person and understanding what sources exist and how you can use the data, why data is important, and all of that. So, I think this is the last slide or the last project, but
Wow.
on Show Me Ready is a women in leadership training program. It's a national program that's being brought to Missouri. And so it will be training women to run for elected positions. And so I saw quite the bridge in terms of childcare, because oftentimes female candidates run on issues such as childcare. And so how do we start funneling people into that? And so how do you get to all of this? And how do you learn about what is happening? I will again add this in the chat, but there is a early childhood page on the extension website. That is where I'm going to post everything. That is where events are going to be. That is where resources are going to be on that page. And then eventually all of this will be in a toolkit, so it will be comprehensive. That's a little bit more internal, but I'm sure it'll be on the website, so it's public for others. But that is all the stuff that we have going on, which is a lot. But
Phenomenal.
it's really focused on community change, that systems change, and how do we start building that muscle across the state.
There was a question in the chat, but Sarah, you started out with talking about centralized office and tier 1, thinking of the tier 1 and tier 2 supports. I assume that will look different in each county, is what you guys are thinking. What are you thinking of in St. Louis City and St. Louis County and St. Charles? You're thinking nothing.
I mean, nothing right now. So like Samantha March has the preschool co-op. And so
Right.
that's a good place to start, I think. And if we want to build off of that, then we can look at other places. One good thing is Iowa kept coming up. And Brenda Lohman, who I am working really closely with, she comes from Iowa, and so she's like, oh yeah, I can get the Iowa people to come and do a presentation if that's what we want. And I was like, okay, cool. So
Something's working, let's use it.
yeah. So it's really just looking for opportunities and figuring out what works for each community, because no community is the same and there is no silver bullet for this.
No.
So
Thank you.
it is not going to be a one size fits all solution. It's going to be, here's a menu, what works in our community.
I have a quick question. In any of your research, was it addressed about universal pre-K in elementary schools? And I know we've talked about this. It won't solve the problem, but it might relieve some pressure for some of the families if they could go to their neighborhood school. Is that an option in any of your research? Is there any funding out there for that?
I haven't done anything myself on that. And like everything else, there's pros and cons, and we all know that. And yeah, I haven't done anything personally. I'm trying to think through resources if we at Mizzou have. We've released like 3 different reports in the past month. It's getting hard to keep up. But we did a licensing report, and then I think we did one specific to extension. So I'm trying to think in the licensing report if there was anything in there.
I will tell you that Joanne is here, Suda, with this, and the filing of Senate Bill 233 that has already been filed is regarding funding for pre-K in the St. Louis County school districts. Am I saying that correctly?
That's right, and we're seeking to support that through a property tax. And then roll in all of the other funding that's already out there, state funding and federal funding and special school district funding. Yeah, so if our proposal goes through as we would like it to, it would be free pre-kindergarten for all children in St. Louis County for the 1 year before kindergarten.
Which we'll dive into deeper, I know. Does anybody have any questions for Sarah? It was a lot. I know Rochelle had a question in the chat, and I think I remember when Childcare Aware used to have buying, where you could, it was one portal. Remember with Carol Scott?
How did that do?
I think when Carol left Childcare Aware, it left with her, like it just
Okay.
didn't happen. But the net 30, I get it.
Consider we're net 45 on payment.
Got it. Did you see that in there, Sarah?
I see.
And others? I can't even. There's so many great things in the chat. I can't even find back when you were, but you guys, we need to continue these discussions, not just at our monthly meetings, but to continue to reach out to each other between the meetings so that we can make this all align. So many great programs, and we need to make sure that they're all working together. Right, Samantha? I'm just kidding. I'm playing with her because she's talking. Wait, I just muted her. I've never really actually done that to somebody.
It's one of my
You'll forgive
favorite
me.
things. When we were
I'm
doing
here.
weekly webinars
Awesome.
at Generate Health during pandemic, I was the person who was in charge of muting people.
I'm sorry, say it again, Lisa.
No, I was just teasing you. You were unmuted and we could kind of hear some talking in the background. So I muted you and I said I'd never done that before. I've been muted. Now you guys all know that's probable that I've been muted, but I'd never. I was just making a joke, lightening the situation. All right. We have, oh man, these meetings. Let's see here.
Lisa, I have a question. I see Casey
Absolutely.
making a comment in here. I'm curious, Casey, does the MOQPK, is that, are public schools eligible to take advantage of that?
Yeah, so there are two pots of MOQPK funds. One is specifically for LEAs, and then one is specifically for childcare. So as we know, the childcare pot has been underutilized just because the program design is really coming more from a school district lens. But school districts have been able to greatly take advantage of that. They're not quite to full utilization. But I think last I heard in the second year of the program, out of 56 million, school districts are drawing down about 44 million of that. And then I think they're going to end up doing an additional round of those grants. And then in addition to those funds being available to LEA is the Omnibus Education Bill that was passed last year allows LEAs to draw down even more money through the foundation formula. So that increased from 4% to 8%. So I think I was just saying, like, as we consider even local opportunities to get additional funding, I think it's really critical to make sure, our LEAs utilizing everything they can from the state level first before we pursue additional local dollars, just to make sure that, because, you don't want to necessarily go for something locally that is not going to address where the actual need is, especially given all the additional dollars. And we know, for instance, I know McKinsey or Gateway and WePower and others are doing the research now on like what the landscape looks like in St. Louis. But, I think we know that infant and toddler is probably where the greatest needs are right now within the community. And so just considering how all of those are parts of the early care and education system and how we maintain a good balance so that the entire system is.
Okay, I just want to make sure that Sarah, I know she was presenting and may have overlooked your comments. I wanted to make sure that she had the opportunity to see it. One thing, Casey, I would like for you to push for moving forward is that they leave that application process open. Every time it comes available, we continue to share. And other programs are intimidated because of the educational requirements. And I continue to say, hey, apply for it and then seek a teacher. Don't pass it up just because you haven't physically hired someone. Secure the slots. And then once the bright idea comes to light, then they're like, oh, it's too late. It's already closed. So it would probably be wonderful if they leave that opportunity open until we truly expunge the budget.
That's good feedback. I think we're also just for your knowledge and, drop into our Kids Win calls as well, but exploring ways that if those funds can't be used in childcare programs just for pre-K, is there a way to expand the use of that just to make sure that that pot of money, if it's not able to be used for that purpose specifically, we know that there's great needs within the childcare community. How can we make that language broader so that childcare programs are able to draw it down?
Thank you.
You mean starting at 6 weeks? Kids at 6
Yeah,
weeks.
that would
Got it.
definitely be part of it.
Fantastic. Which brings me to upcoming speakers. Like I'm looking at Rochelle and I'm looking at Casey. Sarah Kennedy, thank you. We have so much to learn on your site and all of the research that you've done. I hope everybody dives in and gets a arms around all of this. We are thrilled that Howard Smith with St. Louis Area First Steps is going to be speaking at our February meeting. But we have openings for all the other months. So email me or email Leah Moser. And we would love to hear, because the more that we learn, the more we can connect.
And if you feel so compelled to offer now to be a speaker, we welcome that also. We're looking for January, and each month we'll have a different speaker. So if you're not shy and you want to volunteer now, please do. But otherwise, think about it. And I know we are getting very close to our time here. So we will have the recording of this meeting available in our stakeholder folder. I know, Lisa, you send out an email to everyone afterwards. We have a number of different resources for our stakeholders, and we will share that out in the PowerPoint that you all will receive afterwards. Thank you, Casey, for offering to share anytime. We will certainly take you up on that offer.
Also,
yeah,
don't
go
forget
ahead,
that our Facebook page. If you've got stuff going on, post it on there, because then others can take what you've posted and share to their communities so that we create that thicker web. I don't think I'm going by I'm going through all this. We all remember the Missouri Family Resources, and I love that APERVA, we still have the city of St. Louis. We still need more Dolly people to sign up for Dolly Parton Imagination Library. So if you're ever out in the community, I have flyers, I have tons of stuff that you can pass out. And United for Children. Our next meeting is January 15th. Don't, I hope everyone has a wonderful holiday season, but please stay connected with each other and with this group, among others. Invite others because this work is, if this work was easy, it would have been done. And it's going to take these women here. Sorry, Howard. Is Howard still on here?
And you
It's
too,
gonna-
Howard, and the men, and everyone in
all right,
between.
all right. It is going to take all our muscle, but we have purpose. Okay.
Thank you all for joining us today. Be well, enjoy time with your families, and we will see you in January. Take care.
Happy